The idea is that we're not going to spend a whole lot of time. It's just instant reaction. So I'm just going to push the button and we're going to go.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome back to Capes, Cowls, and Conversations. This is the instant reaction. Spider-Man, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spiderman is out. We've seen the first 2 episodes, and we're going to tell you what we think about the first 2 episodes of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Probably not going to be a full-length episode here, but I don't know. Cameron seems like he has a lot on his mind across the table for me, so we'll see. But first things first, if you are listening to us, please take a minute to like, share, subscribe, follow, ding the bell for notifications, rate us. We prefer 5 stars, but if you have negative feedback, we'll take that too so that we can get better at what we're doing here. And with that, Cameron, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
I don't know. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. It's kind of exactly what I expected. It was like middle of the road for the first 2 episodes, at least the first 2 episodes.
So right out of the gate, I thought I heard you say, I do not like this theme song. I mean, it starts with the theme song.
I don't like
You picked our theme song, and I love it, but the theme song.
I don't love the. I just don't love the theme song. It's not. I don't know. Maybe if it was like a Miles Morales theme song. Is that, I don't know. But even then, I'm not sure. I'm just not sure I like it. It's kind of the same thing as like the TMNT. I mentioned this before, the TMNT 2012 theme where they took the 1987 theme and then just added hip hop lyrics to it. And I don't know. It's not a bad thing. It's just not my thing.
Okay. I mean, that's a place to start. So I don't really put much into theme songs in the beginning. It doesn't bother me. It's not something that I sat and went, oh, this sounds cool, or this sucks. It's a theme song. It plays and you move on.
Yeah. Although like for some people, you know, the theme song, like for instance, like Daredevil's theme song gets you pumped for the show. Like if you like, so good.
That's fair. I will say for instance, when the Avengers theme song music comes on for those movies, I tend to feel my like blood pressure rise, my excitement level rise. I feel it.
Yeah.
When the music kicks in, because it doesn't start right away.
No.
It's just like our show. There's a little bit of talking, a little bit of something, and then the theme music. And when that Daredevil theme music starts, I get a little bit pumped.
Yeah. Like Connor like skips theme songs. So whenever we were watching it, he would skip it. But I was like, every time I'd be like, oh my God, you can't skip. Me personally, I would never skip that theme song.
There's only a handful of them like that. They're not all like that, but the Daredevil one definitely is.
Almost all the Defenders ones are pretty good. Like I like the Iron Fist one too.
I've forgotten it. I can't wait till we get there because I've completely forgotten it. But I don't dislike Jessica Jones. I actually
love the colors.
I do like the opening sequence of Jessica Jones.
It's done by one of the comic artists for one of her comic book series.
Or also like Game of Thrones. Every time you heard Game of Thrones kick on, you're like, oh yeah,
I listened to that one. You got me into Game of Thrones, and I could not listen to that theme song. Like I had it on rotation on my playlist for a long time.
Yeah, I just dug it. I dug it.
Even like the theme song for the which family was it?
House of the Dragon?
No, from the original series.
Oh.
There's themes for each house.
Yeah.
And I would listen to the house themes. Like they were that good. Like I wouldn't just listen to the theme song. Like just the music in that show was fantastic.
Yeah. And the music actually in the Spider-Man, the first 2 episodes, there's songs in the episodes. I didn't dislike the music in the episodes at all. It was fine. I don't know if I'm sold on the theme, like, oh, I'm going to hear this theme and come running to make sure I watch the episode. But yeah, the music fits well with the show.
So for starters, the Doctor Strange appearance uses the Doctor Strange MCU theme.
Yeah.
And
Oh, by the way, we are going to spoil the ever-loving crap out of this show.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this, spoiler alert, we're going to spoil it. We're not holding back. We've got 15 to 20 minutes here to talk about it, so you're going to hear about the show.
I'll say even the first like 5 minutes are already on YouTube. Like that whole fight sequence with Doctor Strange and the symbiote are on YouTube. So,
and it's just the symbiote. It's not specifically Venom, right?
I don't know.
I mean, it looked like Venom, but it had like a Kraven the Hunter like cowl on him, or not a cowl, but you know what I'm saying?
They
like
haven't,
the fur.
They haven't been specific yet. I have no idea who it's supposed to be. I'm going with Venom because that's the character that
it looked like Venom took over Kraven. Is all I'm saying.
I get what you're saying. I just mean like from my initial assessment of it, because they've never used another symbiote for Peter. Like he's never worn a different symbiote other than Carnage, but that's still an offshoot of Venom.
Yeah.
So I'm going with Venom because that makes,
who else could it be?
Yeah. Right. Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense if it's anybody else.
Okay.
But for now, I'll just call it the symbiote.
Yeah. So interesting that they rushed through the origin story.
I don't like the fact that Uncle Ben is dead before he's Spider-Man. It is a staple in the story that is his motivation.
Yeah.
Why would you take that away?
I mean, the only other place you've really seen that not happen is MCU.
Well, but even then in the Civil War, like they imply that he became Spider-Man.
I know, but I'm saying he had less impact on him in the MCU than anywhere, because you never actually meet Uncle Ben. Everywhere else you've met him, he's in the comics. He's kind of that, what do they call it in Spider-Verse? He's kind of that canon event. And it's like they've decided we don't want a canon event for this Spider-Man.
So for memes right now, people are already saying Miguel is going to be so pissed just from watching moments of the show in the multiverse. And I'm like, yeah, he is. And he's an anomaly because the spider didn't even come from his universe.
Yeah.
It's from a different universe.
Yeah. Again. So we saw that in Spider-Verse, and that's a problem. And here we are.
Doing it again.
It's outside of its universe. Again.
I assume across Beyond the Spider-Verse takes place before this, and will rectify whatever that whole situation is beforehand, because it's a multiverse thing, and it is.
Well, they're two different companies, though. One is Disney Plus, and one is Sony, so they may never touch each other.
Well, I'll say the movie already connected to the MCU. They reference No Way Home.
Well, I know
outright,
I know they do, but I'm saying they may. That makes it weird.
Right?
That makes it weird because I feel like Sony's going to ignore that Disney Plus did that.
Probably. or it comes before. It literally comes before the show, and the show is...
Well, that's fair because that's Miles. Peter's older.
Well, but Miles is from a different universe.
I'm saying Peter is older. Every version of Peter that we saw in Spider-Verse is older than Peter in...
This show
and
in the MCU.
Yeah. So maybe this does happen before.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that being a thing.
That makes sense.
I also am not.
There's no freshman version of Peter that we've seen anywhere.
Spectacular.
No, that's not connected to any of this.
He shows up in Across.
Okay.
Although I don't know how far past the TV show that version of Spectacular is. So
I don't know.
Because they didn't even confirm that either. They didn't want to have to step on the toes of the show.
So other things.
I just feel like the show is kind of trying to do what Spectacular did, but also trying to do what Ultimate did. And I don't like the combination that much. Ultimate made the decision to have a bunch of Marvel characters cross over into the Spider-Man show and be just like an interconnected universe of characters. And that ended up taking away from Spider-Man's character development, as well as not really developing the characters that were in that show. And then in the way that it's trying to be spectacular, it seems like they're setting up so many character arcs very early. Like Spectacular did, but with characters that I don't care. Like, first of all, Wave being Peter's main love interest right now.
What is their deal with MJ?
What is their deal?
What is the deal with we do not want Mary Jane?
Well, like at least they did Michelle Jones. The reason they renamed her is because Mary Jane and
it doesn't matter.
But at least in the movies they still used Mary Jane to some degree. In this show, yeah, there's no Gwen Stacy.
No Gwen Stacy.
There's no Mary Jane.
No
There's no
Mary
Liz
Jane.
Allen. There's no
We don't want anything to do with actual Spider-Man lore at all, except for villains. Like we want to bring in every villain possible and none of his friends.
Well, they did bring in superheroes too. Like Amadeus Cho is in there, and Wave is in there,
And Asha from Wakanda.
and Asha and Nico Minoru, and like it's like, why are these characters here?
Random characters that are not Spider-Man specific characters. There are plenty of Spider-Man people to fill out this universe, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's what I feel like.
Nico was in California. Like, I'm. Why is she in New York in the first place? At least in the Runaway show, she was in California. I'm pretty sure in the comics they're in a completely different state, and they're usually running all over like the U.S. So it's not just like they're stuck in one.
Well,
place.
she's alone.
She's alone. There's no other Runaways either.
She's alone.
My guess is they're going to tie Doctor Strange to Nico at some point to have both characters be returning actors in the show. Because why would you introduce Nico and not give her magic abilities? Like that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I'm wondering why Wave is here though, because she's more tied to like the Atlantis part of Marvel. She's a water hero. Like I don't understand. I don't get it. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know why she's here.
Unless they're gonna do some kind of other copying of the MCU, which we'll talk about in a second, how much they copied already. But unless a cruise ship is gonna start ripping in half and she's gonna go and help hold it together with her water powers.
Please
I don't know.
Please no.
No, I'm just saying.
No,
I don't know what other reason you would have her there.
Well, probably Namor. I assume they're probably going to try to tie in like Namor or someone, but why?
I mean, they're
Just
already
why?
tying in Wakanda for absolutely no reason whatsoever.
Well, and then on top of that,
Because this is actually happening. If you think about it, this is happening before Black Panther.
No, yeah, that's why I'm like,
And Black
what?
Panther is where they decided to share their gifts with the world at the end of Black Panther. So why is there someone from Wakanda?
Well, yeah, so let's get into like where this what they did, because it's inspired by the MCU. Now it's not a prequel like it originally was supposed to be. So now it's an alternate MCU timeline that takes place after or before Civil War, because Civil War hasn't happened yet. So we have Peter in a place where Doctor Strange became Doctor Strange before he becomes Spider-Man, which is not what happened in the MCU. Doctor Strange actually takes place after Spider-Man, like by a few months. So that already doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
We completely ripped off the Tony Stark scene with Aunt May, except using Norman Osborn in his place.
So
but it's almost a direct ripoff.
Well, so the Norman Osborn recruiting Spider-Man as an employee of Oscorp is directly taken from a recent comic.
No, I know,
line.
But what I'm saying is
I know,
the way that
ripped
they
off the
handled
scene.
it.
It's a complete.
The way they handled it is let's take this MCU scene and we'll just replace Tony Stark.
Yeah, it retools a scene from the MCU, and then it does,
Which they did more than once.
They did it a lot. Yeah, they did the catching of the bus scene, or the car that was about to hit the bus.
Right.
That was how Tony found out who Peter was.
Right.
And then on top of that, they did let's see, they had, I'm trying to think, because they had a couple of different things. So I was like, what in the world? Why did they do that?
Well, and outside the MCU, I mean, it's kind of canon now because of No Way Home. But you mentioned earlier the Andrew Garfield, hey, Spider Guy. I mean, and I know you're such a big fan of Andrew Garfield. So where they could have, ripped off Tobey Maguire and someone like you is like, I don't care. They do it to Andrew Garfield and you're like, hey, that's the real Spider-Man. That pisses me off.
I actually really like that scene, the way they handle that scene in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Here, it just felt like it was forced. It was just like really like it was something that was like, this is a joke we've done before, so let's just do it again. And I didn't like that. I also really don't like how we've characterized Peter Parker. I am so tired of nerdy Peter Parker.
Nerdy and dumb.
Nerdy and dumb, yes.
Like the comments about sports. The comments about sports where he's like, how many touchdowns did he, what did he say? How many touchdowns did he slam dunk? He's not that stupid.
Well, like there's a joke in Across the Spider-Verse where MJ and Peter are talking. And I think she like makes a reference to football. I can't remember if it was football or about. It might have been baseball. But even Peter was like, I watched sports. Like I went to football games. Like I don't like even in Spectacular, they got the scene, like they did a scene where he tries out with Harry for the football team.
Right.
Like he has done sports before. His very first career decision when he became Spider-Man was not to be a superhero, is to be a pro wrestler.
Right.
Like
for money.
Yeah. Like, why are we pretending like this is so stupid? Why are we pretending like he's just this nerdy loser? That's never been Peter Parker. And honestly, a lot of people like originally, and I think this is just from because they watched Sam Raimi's Spider-Man and never really got a full understanding of the character from the comics, because Peter's kind of a douche a little bit, like in the comics. Like when Flash makes fun of him or bullies him, Peter comes right back with a quip. Like he's coming back and he's like destroying his intelligence. Like makes Flash look like an idiot.
Yeah.
Like he's like the closest we've gotten to that is Andrew Garfield.
Gross.
And I know you don't like that, but like he has a temper. Like Peter has a temper in the comics and he doesn't hold back. Like he will get into arguments with people. He's not a shy little nerd. That's never been his character. I've never liked that portrayal of Spider-Man. And that's been something since Sam Raimi.
Well, I mean, he's always been a really smart guy. I think my problem with it is when you can't separate a smart guy from the nerdy guy who doesn't get sports. Like you can have a really smart person who also gets sports and also is intelligent about normal life.
Yeah. Well,
and Peter seems to be portrayed always now as
socially
the
awkward
scientist guy.
Yeah.
Who's socially awkward and doesn't understand anything outside of his science world. But I don't think that you can be the Spider-Man who quips with people if you don't have some pop culture.
He lives in New York, dude.
But I'm saying you have to have some pop culture knowledge, some sports knowledge to be able to have quips with all the people that he fights with. And that's who he is. Like he literally is constantly bantering with the criminals and stuff. You can't do that if all you know is science.
Well, and something that a lot of people point out with Spider-Man now is a lot of times what they do is they try to do like meta jokes. So like instead of him doing a joke and it actually be funny, what he does is he makes a pun or a really stupid quip that nobody laughs at. And then he goes, get it? Because like, that's the joke. Like he has to like explain the joke to the audience. Like the audience is an idiot.
I hate that.
And that's been Spider-Man for like the last 3 TV shows. And I hate it so much because it's not hard to, I mean, it's really not hard to write Spider-Man being funny.
It shouldn't be.
And the whole point of Spider-Man being funny, it's not to annoy the audience. It's to annoy the criminals.
Right.
It's to make the audience laugh and to annoy the criminals. Like
See, to me, it was really well done in Civil War. When he's fighting Falcon and Winter Soldier, both.
Hey, I think you lost this, dude. And throws a
Whoa, you've got a metal arm? How do I get one of those? I mean, I thought they did it really well with him there.
Yeah, and then they screwed it up at Homecoming.
I'm not saying they do it well all the time, but that's more realistic than just a Peter who has to explain his jokes because he's too smart. And
yeah, well,
and that's the way he comes off on the show so far. Is he's kind of
dumb.
Outside of the world, he's in his
like
own he's in his own little science world.
Yeah, he's like Sheldon Cooper as Spider-Man a little bit.
Maybe
not as bad because Sheldon Cooper is way worse. But I feel like he's kind of like the smart, antisocial, awkward character. But also he's Spider-Man.
But he does end up friends with some cool people. So maybe he comes out of that over time. I don't know. I mean, his friends are not the typical.
They're not even
first
close.
of all, it's not MJ. But he's friends with the best player on the football team, and he's friends with Harry Osborn, and so maybe they bring him out of his nerdy shell a little bit throughout the show.
Also
I don't know.
something that they've never really gotten right. In high school, he doesn't have a lot of friends. He actually doesn't meet Harry Osborn until college, and he doesn't meet MJ until college. And Gwen Stacy is his first girlfriend, but that also is in college. Like, a lot of that stuff happens when he graduates.
Well, maybe that's why we're not seeing any of them now.
And maybe. And I mean, that'd be nice if we had at least some of his actual high school best friends.
Yeah.
But Flash Thompson isn't here.
I didn't recognize. You start listing off these people that are like Luther, and you're like, that's Tombstone.
Oh, Lincoln.
Or Lonnie
Lincoln. Yeah, Tombstone. And then you're like, because first of all, he's albino. He's not even.
No, I know.
Black.
I know.
Like,
I know.
That's what's weird to me.
So something obviously is going to happen to him at some point.
Yeah.
But you start listing off all these people that are in the show that are Marvel related.
And you're like,
I'm
who is
like,
that?
I have watched Spider-Man and read the first and only comic book I ever owned was a Spider-Man comic book. And you're listing off people, and I'm like, no idea who these people are. Look them up real quick and tell me who that is. And you're like, oh, it's Tombstone.
Well, the only one I didn't
Hulk.
recognize was
it's Junior Hulk, and it's so and so and so. I'm like, what in the world are we doing?
The only one I had to look up because I completely forgot about this character is Taskmaster's daughter.
What is she doing?
Why
there?
is she there? Like, first of all, if this is supposed to be an alternate MCU timeline, that shouldn't even be Taskmaster's daughter,
right?
Because Taskmaster isn't even Tony Masters. It's the daughter of the guy that
runs the Red Room.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, it seems to be. What did we watch the other day? Creature Commandos. I told you in the first 3 episodes I was ready to stop watching. Mm-hmm. This is not that bad. It is not that the first 2 episodes have me going, man, I'm ready to stop watching. But man, I really need to know that they have an amazing plan, and not just because it's Amazing Spider-Man. They need an amazing plan going forward because I don't understand it after 2 episodes. I don't understand what I'm looking at.
Right. Well, like if you look at Spectacular, right, you get his core cast members were like Dr. Kurt Connors in the first episode, right? You have Kurt Connors, Norman Osborn, Harry Osborn, which I know that technically was originally supposed to happen later, but like the way they do it in that show is so good. You have a ton of his bullies are just people he grew up with in high school in the comics. So that's already there to be relative. You have Eddie Brock. You have Mary Jane, like halfway through season 1. Like all these characters get brought in, but they're so natural. Like it's not like they just appear. They actually have like character moments with Peter and they get developed throughout the show. Here, I don't know why these characters are here, and I don't really see a lot of interesting stuff unless literally what they're probably going to do is have all of these characters get superpowers and become superheroes and basically do the same thing like Ultimate Spider-Man did, where Peter's teaming up with other superheroes because we can't have a cast of non-super people with the superhero.
Yeah.
It's the Arrowverse all over again. Like,
yeah, I have a problem when everybody's super. When everybody's super, then no one's. What's the Incredibles line? When everybody's special, then no one's special.
Something like that. Yeah, and
and that's a little bit crazy because they didn't introduce a lot of people who were just role players for the show. They introduced a bunch of heroes and villains, and it's like you're walking through New York and everybody is a future hero or villain.
Right. Yeah, I have major problems with that. It's not even the characters themselves. Like these characters could be interesting, I'm sure, but the problem is I don't want another Flash show. I don't want another superhero show where the whole cast becomes a cast of superheroes. Because and that was a big problem with the previous Spider-Man show before this one.
Yeah,
because they did 2 things. A, they had 4 Spider people by the end of the first season, and then on top of that, everyone was a genius. I'm not joking.
Well, I mean, they are setting this up for that.
They
because
are,
Midtown
too.
is already a major school for smart people, and then on top of that, he's being paired with a bunch of people, really smart people at Oscorp.
Right.
And so basically, everybody that's around him is a genius, and he's a genius, and everybody's a potential hero.
At least everybody is a genius in a different field in this show. Because
So far.
In the last show, everyone was a genius in technology.
Everything. Oh, I was going to say in everything.
Just about everything, but mostly technology. And there wasn't a difference. Like everyone was on the same level of genius. So whenever they're talking to each other, it's like watching the Big Bang Theory. Where where everyone's a genius and they all are making like they're
all the smart jokes.
Yeah, it's over explaining science to people, even though it's fake science.
Yeah.
And it's like that's not a fun thing to watch for me.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that for sure. I'm with you on that for sure. I will say that Spectacular Spider-Man was the last Spider-Man cartoon that I enjoyed. And then nobody did it better than the Spider-Man from the 90s. Spider-Man, the animated series.
I think why Spectacular worked is because it was multidimensional in a way where like Peter did have his science job, his science internship. He did also go to high school, and then he also worked for the Daily Bugle. And inside of that, it wasn't the same cast in each place. It was different cast members constantly. So he was constantly interacting with new people. On top of that, even like May had her own group of friends that also interacted with, like, so you constantly had moving parts in that show. And I think that's what made that show work. And I do think this show has the potential to do that. And they'd have set up for something like that. But with a bunch of characters that are destined to become superheroes and supervillains. So eventually they're probably all going to cross paths in a way that I don't like.
Yeah. I mean, Spider-Man, the animated series to me is the crown jewel of Spider-Man cartoons. Spectacular was really good. I'm not sold on this show, but I'm not 100% against it. I just don't see the vision in 2 episodes. I think maybe they should have released a third one to help people see the vision of what they're trying to do, because I don't see it. But
I think
I will be watching another week because I think they're dropping 3 episodes next week.
Yes, they are. They're doing 2, 3, 3, 2.
Sounds good.
I think the other thing is, and this isn't to say that it can't do this, but it's almost a little too invincible for me. Like, I like Invincible, but I don't want Spider-Man to be invincible.
I see what you're saying, but it doesn't touch Invincible from a shock value standpoint. Like there's nothing there that makes you stare at it. Like Invincible, you're like, holy crap, I can't take my eyes off of this.
The plot twists in Invincible are crazy.
Invincible gives you something you can't take your eyes off of. I don't see that with this Spider-Man yet. We'll see.
We'll see.
I think we'll have a very good feel for how the show is going to go next week. And we'll do another instant reaction next Wednesday.
I think the other thing is Norman. Like, we all know where he's going to go, right?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
So making him this connected to Peter early on.
I just don't see the vision for how they get there.
Yeah, I guess I just don't know. There's a lot of characters at play, and that's not always a bad thing. I wouldn't say that's a bad thing.
No.
Because again, Spectacular did that. It had a ton of characters in play. But the part is again, it's just a lot of superhero characters, and I just don't want them to overshadow a Spider-Man show again.
Exactly. No, I'm with you on that.
That gets really, really old fast.
I'm with you. That being said, this was our instant reaction. Am I cutting you off?
I'm just trying to make sure I get just because again.
Sorry for my coughing, everybody. I don't know why I can't stop with this every so often cough. I guess it's just that kind of winter. But was there anything else for you or?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I am excited to see what they do with other, like for instance, like having the Doctor Strange and Daredevil crossovers in the show will be interesting because I do like those characters. That's not necessarily a bad thing. But I also want to know why. Like,
yeah,
you know,
I mean, like I said, there's no vision apparent right now.
Right.
I think we'll have a good feel for it in next week's 3 episodes.
I definitely wouldn't say it's bad. I know I came off as negative, but it's just because I have seen so many Spider-Man shows.
Yeah.
where,
I'm
where
with
they
you.
have not followed through.
Spider-Man's a place where we have high expectations.
It is.
Always in the movies, in the cartoons, in the comics. It's kind of cream of the crop. It's the one that we have high expectations for. So,
Well, yeah. And then
it's hard to look at these first 2 episodes and say they're meeting expectations at this point. But I think I think we'll have a good handle on it next week.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to doing this again.
Yeah, me too. So hopefully, I do hope it does actually exceed expectations. I do have hope for that. It's just
there's hope.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, if you've liked what you've heard in our instant reaction, go check out Spider-Man. Oh, wait, it's actually called Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. I keep saying Spider-Man first, but it's Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
See, I keep trying to call it Spider-Man freshman year because that's what
it initially was.
Long.
But yeah, go check that out.
Dude, okay. There was one more thing.
Okay.
It's already renewed for 3 seasons.
Yeah. Yeah, apparently they have high hopes for it.
Yeah, that's
the second
crazy.
season is already nearly drawn, from what I understood.
Nearly drawn, and they already have scripts for season 3 planned. Yeah,
so
that's insane.
They have high hopes. We'll temper our hopes, and we will ask you to ride along with us. We're still on our road to Daredevil Born Again. This is not part of that. This is just our instant reaction to Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you choose to go watch it. Like, share, subscribe, follow, notify, rate, and everything that you can to help us out.
Good lawyer.
There's your Daredevil reference. And we'll see you next time.